New and used vehicles, all priced to sell immediately. Plus, if you buy now, we'll cut your monthly payments in half for 1 full year. Like a new Escort for just $99 a month for the first year, or choose factory financing as low as 4.8%. You'll find across-the-board savings on every Ford car and truck in stock. Don't miss out on the spring clearance deals at the big store, Vancouver Ford Daihatsu, home of Drive New every 2, and half payments for the first year. Don't miss it.
Watch Channel 2 News at 6:30 weeknights on KATU.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the state of education in the country, the sorry state in this case. There has been another report from the government today on the competence of American students. This time the subject is mathematics. The President's Commission on Education said some time ago that by the end of the century, that's 9 years from now, American students should be the best in the world. Here is the situation today. When high school seniors in 37 states were asked to add up the cost of a hamburger, a cup of soup, and a soda on the lunch menu, 25% of them got it wrong. Here's our education reporter, Bill Blakemore.
American students and schools have failed the most comprehensive survey ever made of their math abilities.
This is an alarm bell that ought to ring all night throughout this country.
Only 1 in 7 eighth graders can understand simple algebra and geometry. In fact, fewer than 2/3 of eighth graders could figure out the average age of the people in their families. And only 1 in 20 high school seniors can handle the algebra, probability, and statistical reasoning necessary for college-level work and many of today's jobs. The study says it's not surprising. Many schools are simply not teaching them how.
If one is not exposed to material, there's no way they can learn it.
The survey also found many schools teaching math in ways that have nothing to do with real life.
We have a curriculum that was designed almost 100 years ago that some characterize as shopkeeper's arithmetic. Now people in stores don't even do that kind of arithmetic anymore. The cash register does.
Most schools still use outmoded techniques, heavy reliance on a single textbook with repetitious drills, or on worksheets, and on way too many tests, all of which can kill the fun of creative math thinking.
We're working hard, but we're not working smart.
The study also suggests results would have been much better if more teachers had studied a wider variety of math and math teaching techniques, and if students gave up some television time to study time. Those who performed worst often spend 6 hours a day in front of the TV. Secretary of Education Lamar Alexander said this survey should shake all Americans from the common belief that while everyone else's schools are bad, theirs is probably okay.
But if our aim is to be first in the world in math by the year 2000, we had better fire up our engines because we have an enormous challenge ahead of us.
Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
The reality in American schools is that not all students who receive a diploma have received an education. Thousands of students are passed right on through the system only to discover much, much later how much they didn't learn. Today, a small but growing number of high schools are embarked on an experiment designed to reassure the graduates and their future employers that they will deliver what the diploma promised. ABC's Charles Thomas is in Rockford, Illinois.
About 1/3 of this year's graduates of Harlem High School received more than a diploma. They earned a certificate of employability.
Kind of gives you a little boost for the future, knowing that you're recognized like this.
The wallet-sized card guarantees the holder can read, write, and do basic math, and that the student had a good attitude and attendance record. If an employer determines a guaranteed graduate lacks those skills and qualities, the school promises to reteach the teenager.
We need to do everything we possibly can to make sure that Harlem graduates are successful. If they are successful, then our programs are successful.
Education warranties are supposed to address complaints from private industry that many schools do not prepare graduates for the workforce. Last year, businesses spent $250 million to reteach workers basic skills they should have learned in high school.
The level of literacy that it took to be a productive worker 20 years ago is no longer sufficient. Jobs have changed enormously.
The Ingersoll Machine Company has already decided that job applicants with warranted diplomas will make better workers.
That person with the certificate is going to get the nod before the person without the certificate.
That's a strong motivation for many Harlem students.
It'll make me work hard to try to get one because it'll give me a better chance at getting a good job.
Officials hope that next year, half the graduates here will have earned warranties, a guarantee that students and the school are getting better. Charles Thomas, ABC News, Rockford, Illinois.
We'll have another report on teenagers later in the broadcast, how Iowa intends to punish teenagers for smoking. On the American agenda tonight, doctors making a profit on their patients. And in just a moment, how the illegal sale of an assault rifle in California has proved very expensive for the dealer who sold it.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by AT&T.
If you don't have AT&T 800 service and trouble hits, who knows how long you could be out? Only AT&T automatically protects you through the 800 assurance policy. With AT&T, you would be guaranteed back in touch in 30 minutes or less. With anyone else? Who knows? But if you do have AT&T, your 800 service is guaranteed. That's not all. Since AT&T connects calls 25% faster and has the fewest block calls, more 800 calls get through, so you can make more sales. With all that, why choose any other 800 service? Better service, better results. Another AT&T advantage. Call now for free installation.
In Oakland, California, the widow of a man who was shot and killed with an assault rifle has won a $400,000 settlement from the store where the gun was sold. And gun control advocates hope the settlement will have a very sobering effect on gun dealers across the country. In California, ABC's Ken Kashiwahara.
The lawsuit alleged that this gun store was irresponsible in allowing Darrell Poole to obtain the assault rifle he used to kill Lawrence Ellingson. Poole said he shot Ellingson on a freeway because he was driving too slowly. Ellingson's widow charged that the gun store allowed Poole to buy the gun even though he could not produce the identification required by law.
Then a companion showed his ID, filled out the federal regulation, the form, and then the weapon was presented to Mr. Poole.
Gun control advocates say straw buying when one person buys a weapon for someone else is widely used to evade gun laws. The $400,000 settlement could have widespread implications.
We think this settlement sends a national message to gun dealers across this country that there may be a very high price to pay for gun violence that results from their irresponsible or illegal conduct.
The gun store's owner denies knowing that Darrell Poole was the real buyer and says the suit was settled because his insurance company did not want to pay more legal fees.
You can't control people after they purchase the product. If they purchase it legally, does the dealer have to get into somebody's mind to figure out what he's going to do with this product?
But both gun dealers and gun control advocates agree that the threat of future lawsuits will cause gun stores to scrutinize customers more carefully. Ken Kashiwahara, ABC News, San Francisco.
News of what you eat today. The Kraft Food Company announces today it is going to stop putting references on its product labels to the percentage of fat in its food. The company's announcement comes on the same day that the Food and Drug Administration announces it is going to be a lot tougher on misleading food labels which make claims about fat. One of the strongest impressions, incidentally, that many visitors take away from the United States is how overweight many Americans are and how diet conscious a lot of others are. An estimated 65 million Americans are on a diet at any given time, and a $33 billion a year industry has sprung up to help them, which, as you'll hear in this report from John McKenzie, has led to some pretty intense competition.
In the battle of the bulge, some diet programs have declared an all-out war on each other.
Recently, Healthline magazine, written by faculty members at Stanford University School of Medicine, compared 16 popular diets. And you know what? Only Nutrisystem got a perfect score.
That's where the controversy begins. The magazine and the commercial include both the Stanford logo and the name Stanford Center for Research. But the university says it never authorized use of its name and has nothing to do with the study or the magazine. It turns out Nutrisystem paid $25,000 to help get the report published. The study was conducted by one Stanford psychiatrist working for the magazine, and according to some diet companies, working with incomplete data. So Stanford and two other diet companies are now suing Nutrisystem for false advertising. Nutrisystem says it did nothing wrong and is suing Stanford for defamation of character.
The charges are extremely serious. If a diet company is claiming to have an endorsement from a prestigious medical program, and that program has not endorsed the diet company, that can be very deceptive to the consumer.
Today, New York City's Consumer Affairs Commissioner released the results of an investigation into 6 diet programs and found plenty of deception. It says most fail to warn customers of serious health risks, like heart irregularities and loss of muscle tissue. But some engage in outright quackery.
We found an industry that is heavy with deceptions and with dangers.
When you're investigating something initially, you tend to look at all the negatives and not at the positives, not at the people whose lives are saved because they've dropped so many pounds and their heart condition has become much better.
While some programs do enable people to lose weight, studies show the results are often only temporary.
You haven't learned to control portion sizes. You haven't learned to avoid those foods that made you fat in the first place.
Nutritionists say that when it comes to dieting, there is no quick fix. The consumers who expect one will find companies who exploit them. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
In other news, another indication tonight that the recession is forcing more people onto the welfare rolls. More than 12.5 million Americans, mostly children and their mothers, are now enrolled in the government's primary welfare program called Aid to Families with Dependent Children, ADC. That's an all-time high, and 250,000 families have been added just since October. Well, as welfare programs grow, so do the costs of the bureaucracies running them, which is why an experiment underway in Baltimore is going to get a lot of attention. It is designed to make the system more responsive and less expensive. ABC's John Martin is there.
For a year and a half, 5,000 men and women in Baltimore have been using pieces of plastic called independence cards to collect nearly $2 million a month in food stamps and welfare payments. Instead of mailing them welfare checks or issuing food stamps, the government puts the money in special bank accounts. To get cash, the cardholders go to the check cashing counter at their supermarket. The clerk electronically moves the funds from the welfare recipient's account to the store's account and gives them the money.
The slip shows, how much you have left, and, you don't overspend. If you need it for your rent, you take out your rent money and leave the rest in there.
The recipients can also withdraw their welfare payments from automated bank teller machines around the state, like any ordinary bank card holder. Those who receive food stamps no longer have to carry and count coupons. Instead, they hand over their card to have their food purchase electronically subtracted from their allowance.
It's more convenient because it's easier to handle your cash or your stamps. You don't have to worry about being robbed.
Store managers say the system saves staff time and money. State officials say it could save more than $1 million a year in administrative costs. But critics say the card may make welfare too easy, too attractive, and increase the risk of fraud if the card and ID number are sold or stolen. The system's manager doesn't seem worried.
Any system can be beaten if an individual wants to. It just makes it more difficult, and I think it makes it easier for us to identify it when someone does abuse the system.
Officials say the system has worked so well, they plan to test it statewide in Maryland this fall. Ultimately, they'd like to extend it to Social Security checks and medical insurance claims. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost another 10.5 points to close at 29.94, and the trading was moderate. The newspaper columnist Sylvia Porter, who wrote on business and personal finance, has died in New York. She was 77, and she suffered from emphysema. We'll be back in just a moment.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. As you learn, you make your product better and better. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
Every business morning, while the rest of the world is getting up, UPS is guaranteeing overnight delivery before 10:30. For far less than other companies charge. and every business morning. More people are waking up to that fact.
Good morning.
When you get gas pain, which would you choose? Your antacid or Gas-X, the tablet made for gas pain? It's extra strength, 100% simethicone to get rid of gas faster than your antacid. Fight gas right with Gas-X.
Good game, good friends. And now that I use Fixodent, I can tell the ref what I really think.
Fixodent and forget it.
Are you nuts?
Before I switched to Fixodent, Jones Peanut Crunchies only looked delicious.
Fixodent and forget it. Fixodent is the strongest holding denture adhesive you can get. It even stands up to the hottest liquids.
With my old adhesive, I'd never make a presentation and drink hot coffee at the same time.
For the strongest hold you can get. Fixodent and forget it.
President Bush is going to get an answer from Israel tomorrow on his plan for an Arab-Israeli peace conference. ABC's Bob Zelnick has been told by Israeli and U.S. sources that the answer is no, that Israel will not budge on its opposition to any role for the United Nations. Secretary of State Baker has an answer for Mikhail Gorbachev on the subject of massive Western aid. The answer is not yet. Mr. Baker spoke at a meeting of the NATO foreign ministers in Copenhagen. ABC's Barry Dunsmore is there.
Secretary Baker's presentation today was the first time an American official has publicly spelled out what the U.S. thinks the conditions should be for Western aid to save the Soviet economy. As for economic reform, Baker said the Soviets must embrace a real market economy, private ownership of property, a sound currency, and real prices. On political reform, Baker said the Soviets should build a state based on the rule of law with free elections, accommodate peacefully the Baltic states' aspirations for independence, stop supporting repressive regimes, meaning Cuba, and significantly reduce their defense budget, now estimated to be 25% of their gross national product. Behind the scenes here tonight, U.S. officials said that Baker's conditions were meant to be flexible, and that he recognized that such Soviet reforms would take a long time. Along the way, the U.S. is willing to be helpful, but not with massive amounts of American money. Barry Dunsmore, ABC News, Copenhagen.
The astronauts on the Space Shuttle Columbia may have to do some outside repair work before they come home. Some material has come loose near the shuttle's cargo bay door. Engineers on the ground are trying to determine if the doors can still open and close properly. If they cannot, 2 astronauts may make an unscheduled spacewalk this weekend to make repairs. Some striking images which caught our eye early this morning in the nation's capital. A Harrier jump jet landing on the Mall, not very far from the Capitol and from the monuments. The Harrier was followed by Marine helicopters. They're all part of the military hardware being assembled for this weekend's parade in Washington to honor the veterans of the Gulf War. When we come back, the American agenda. What doctors who own their own testing labs are costing us.
Excuse me.
You saved my life the other night.
The dinner party.
The coffee. Very successful.
How can you ever thank me?
Well, at least I can return your taster's choice.
Look, I'm busy right now, but perhaps...
Perhaps.
Savor the sophisticated taste of Taster's Choice.
How's the coffee?
Where'd you get it?
Oh, I have it delivered.
The whole idea for the design behind Jeep Cherokee is to get you wherever you're going, safe and sound. Or if you prefer, safe and no sound.
Now save $1,000 on new Jeep Cherokees.
A lot of you insist on eating wheat thins and oat thins because they taste good. But the whole idea behind these crackers is that you can eat them without feeling guilty. That's why they're baked, not fried. I mean, eat them because they're delicious, and you miss the whole point.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's Kids Day free time at Quality, Comfort, Clarion, and Sleep Hotels.
Huh?
Kids 18 and under stay free at Choice Hotels when you call 1-800-4CHOICE and reserve a room.
Hey, what happened to your gray hair? You noticed, huh?
Well, I did it too, but I worried about it looking phony. Does mine look phony? It looks natural. How'd you do it? Clairol Option. Clairol Option? Clairol Option for men. Clairol knows natural-looking color, and there's no pouring and mixing. My hair even feels thicker. So how long is it going to take me to look like your twin again? Just 5 minutes. That easy.
Clairol Option for men.
You were right. You know something? If you're going to do it right.
On the American agenda tonight, we take another look at a very expensive and some would argue questionable trend in American healthcare. It's about doctors who make a lot of extra money by sending their patients out for tests to be conducted at medical centers in which those same doctors have a financial interest. Last night, we looked at the conflict of interest question. Tonight, the actual dollar cost to the individual patient and the overall medical system. Our medical editor is Tim Johnson.
In Titusville, Florida, a town of about 60,000, there is only one hospital, a public hospital which serves everyone regardless of ability to pay. 5 years ago, a group of local doctors decided to compete with the hospital for some of the lucrative diagnostic tests like ultrasound and mammography. Right across the street, they set up a joint venture facility in which they had ownership shares, and they began to refer patients to their place rather than the hospital, with predictable results.
The joint ventures drain funds from our facility, and as they drain funds, then we, of course, have to make up for that lost revenue, and we have to do that in two ways. We either increase our cost of services to our patients, or we increase our tax revenue that we get from our citizens.
The doctors group has made the matter even worse by, in most cases, referring the paying patients to their own facility and sending poor patients to the hospital.
These people can go off and cherry pick, as we call it, and take the good paying patients and make a buck, and then leave the public to pay the rest of the bill. And that's not right.
And since the doctor's facility also owns the only magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, machine in town, patients without insurance are sometimes denied the MRI tests they really need. This according to a local observer.
In our community, a lot of the indigent patients are black, and therefore the black patients are going to be getting studies which are generally inferior to what the white patients will get because the imaging procedure, the X-ray procedure, is owned by a joint venture.
Discrimination against non-paying patients directly affects their medical care. But it's not just the poor who get hurt. When doctors who own facilities drive up costs, even for patients with insurance, we all pay indirectly through higher taxes and higher insurance premiums. This landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine last year demonstrated that when doctors own diagnostic imaging machines, in this case in their offices, they order more than 4 times more tests than doctors who send their patients to outside radiologists for the same kinds of tests. The doctors who own machines also charged more for the tests. The combination of more tests and higher charges meant that doctors who own machines cost the healthcare system up to 7 times more than doctors who did not own machines. Some doctors argue that if their facilities are needed, they might as well be the ones making the money from these tests, especially since the government and insurance companies are cutting back on their regular fees.
Our community does benefit from the presence of this scanner. And if we hadn't done it, it wouldn't be here, and people would be waiting in line. Somebody's going to make the money. And if I don't make it in my other standard fees, then I have to make it somewhere else.
But others say that joint ventures have the potential to so exploit the patient and the general public that legislation to make them illegal is the only way to handle the problem.
That will draw a very simple, sharp, bright line for the public and the profession. It says, this is not in the public interest. In the long run, it's not in the interest of medicine, and it shouldn't be allowed by law.
And whereas legislators at both the state and federal level have attempted to make physician-owned joint ventures illegal. This year, a bill in Florida was bottled up in committee after fierce opposition from the State Medical Society. And a similar bill in Congress was watered down to include only laboratories. But as health care costs soar and poor patients are subject to inferior care, it is a safe bet that Congress will once again look at why doctors should make huge profits off the patients they are called to serve. Dr. Timothy Johnson, ABC News.
In a moment, we'll have another report about teenagers.
Last year, hundreds of thousands of people bought Fetters room air conditioners. Was it the large selection? Or features like the Comfort Master Precision Thermostat? Extras like the heavy-duty rear grille that protects the condenser coil? Could it be whisper quiet performance? Or Fetters high efficiency ratings? One thing is certain. You can't do better than a Fetters.
Pain from just one sensitive tooth can start the domino effect. Pain can make you stop brushing, lead to plaque buildup, gingivitis, periodontal disease, even tooth loss. Sensodyne toothpaste helps stop the pain and the domino effect.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. As you learn, you make your product better and better. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
Poison ivy, insect bites, rashes. Too many choices.
You only need one. Port-Aid.
Stop the itch and heal the rash with a brand doctors recommend most.
Present Arms.
Port-Aid, the only aid you need.
Some things are so reliable, they seem invisible. For 9 years, Canon has been America's #1 copier. And if you haven't noticed, that's exactly how it should be. For copiers of uncompromising quality, the choice is Canon.
This American nun went to help Guatemala's poor. She says death squads there paid her back with abduction, rape, torture. Prime time tonight.
Finally here this evening, teenagers and their habits. A new government study shows more than 10 million teenagers, half of all junior and senior high school students, say they drink alcoholic beverages. 500,000 say they go on binges, consuming 5 or more drinks in a row at least once a week. The main reasons they cite are stress and boredom. As for smoking, how many times have we reported on its dangers? Despite all the health warnings and all the laws which make it difficult to smoke in public places, virtually anywhere in the country, 50 million Americans still haven't kicked the habit. And since 90% of all Americans who smoke take their first cigarette before they are 21, the state of Iowa has now taken radical steps to prevent young people from ever starting. After July the 1st, teenagers in Iowa who are caught smoking in public will be breaking the law. The governor has just signed a bill which will penalize smokers under 18 as much as $100 and 30 days in jail every time they are caught.
We expect the police officers and the prosecutors of Iowa to indeed apprehend and bring charges against those people that violate this law, just like any of the other laws of the state of Iowa.
Many Iowans support the bill, but some young Iowans are not very happy.
I think it's just going to cause a lot of trouble because the kids are going to do it anyway. There's no stopping it.
I think it's stupid. We should be able to do what we want to do. I mean, it's our body.
There is more. Cigarette vending machines in Iowa will eventually become child-proof. Lockout devices will make them impossible to use unless an adult attendant with a key is there to help. The national statistics on smoking are catastrophic. 400,000 Americans die as the result of cigarette smoking every year. 1 million teenagers pick up the habit every year. In the state of Iowa, they are determined to reduce the numbers. And that is our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Tomorrow, our Person of the Week. Hope we'll see you then. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tonight,
Whatever it wasn't human.
Gabe seeks a madman's advice to trap a killer.
I terrify you, don't I? When they pull the switch, I want to...